Update to my husband's female colleague. Original post. I do not know your Reddit name, but you finally gave me a reason to use this throwaway. I know you looked through the sub after you got advice here telling you to come clean to me about your affair with my husband. I personally couldn't find a thread that fit the description, but could be the wrong sub or you deleted it. So if you read this and it sounds familiar, then yes, it's about you. I have no plans of speaking to you in the future, but I want to make a few things clear. Yes, I do remember when we first met at a Christmas party and you kept trying to get my husband alone to talk. You pouted so much when he refused. I thought you would quack. Do you remember how all of his colleagues were friendly with me? I remember when you approached my husband and I walking home from my birthday dinner. I'm pretty sure this was a coincidence, but seeing my husband practically jump away from you trying to hug him was the highlight of my night. I know my husband is sexy. Of course I know. I married him and had kids with him. But I bet you didn't know because you have only been at the company for a few months that your coworkers used to be my coworkers. I know all about you trying to get him alone after meetings. Not only straight from my husband because you make him feel uncomfortable, but also from them. Did you think he wouldn't talk to me after you accidentally sent him 2 provocative photos on 2 separate occasions? Did you think you could really get him? Did you look at his Instagram and think, wow, I want that life. I just need to lie to his wife and it's all mine? Do you think knocking on my door when I'm hosting a dinner party to hand me printouts of your conversations with him that I would go off at the deep end to divorce him? I'm pretty sure HR have spoken to you already about your inappropriate behavior and misuse of his personal file. I'm sure you were shocked. Maybe you didn't think my husband would report it. I don't know what repercussions you will get, and I don't care. But if you come near me, my husband, our kids, or our nice home again, police will be called. A word of advice. If you're going to fabricate messages, you might want to get rid of the wrong number or at least replace it with a name. Now for the top comments before reading the update. I desperately need to find this woman's post because I am so invested in the drama. I'm sorry you and your family are going through this, OP, but it's like a car crash. I can't look away. It's absolutely fine. I would be in the same in your shoes. I honestly don't know if it's revenge for him not having an affair with her or if she really believes it. Honestly, it could go either way. She could be mentally ill and genuinely believe the scenario she's created in her head, or she could just be taking revenge on your husband and your family because he refused an affair like you said. Regardless, she sounds dangerous. Please stay safe. Oh man, I hope some handy Redditor finds the mentioned post. I could swear I did read pretty much this exact story from this other woman this week. Except she truly didn't seem to understand how ridiculously inappropriate she was being to the married guy. She's totally schoolgirl crushing on the guy, trying to flirt at work and inappropriately cornering the guy and trying to get him alone. All he's got a wife, but it's just too hot to stop myself. Until Reddit ripped her a few new ones. I remember a post like that a few days ago, but I think it was a neighbor she was crushing on and not a coworker. She was fully convinced he was also in love with her, even though nothing indicated that was the case. Honestly, I tried looking for it when she handed me the printout. She had an entire monologue memorized with apologies. It mentioned Reddit a few times, but I couldn't find anything when I looked that night. It could have been a different sub or she deleted it. I had a coworker who did something similar about 20 years ago. She was obsessed with a married coworker who was nice and had trained her. His wife worked in the same place but a different department. This woman would openly talk about wanting to sleep with him and not caring about his marriage. She stalked and harassed his wife and confronted her at a group event. She attacked his wife, who promptly kicked her butt and had her arrested. People are nuts. Wow, they really are out there. Mini update. She has been fired with immediate effect. I will update when we know our next steps. Thank you for the support so far. Now for the full update. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who supported my husband and I in the first post. This might go on for a little bit, so I'm sorry in advance. I probably won't be as articulate as I was in my first post. I never found her post, by the way. If all you want is the update, skip to the bottom line. But a few people implied that there was no smoke without fire. Usually I would agree. I'd have been on the other side making these comments myself on my actual account, but my husband is also on Reddit and saw the comments and he wanted me to add some prior events. My husband is high up within the company marketing department that works closely with the event team in their field. When they work together on a project, big or small, they have to have meetings. The bigger the project, the more meetings needed. My husband worked very closely with a colleague that went on maternity leave. The woman was highly recommended by a senior employee in the events team. So after she had trainings on the systems and brought up to speed by her department head and my husband for a big project, he was friendly towards her. He remained professional at all times, and the meetings they had were also never alone. The project was a success, and then another big project landed in their laps. It was at this time the woman started acting strange just before the Christmas period, asking for clarification after meetings when the points had been discussed thoroughly. When my husband rebuffed this and directed her to her own manager, it escalated to offering to discuss work matters over coffee/lunch/dinner countless times a week, telling him that he looked good that day. And this was done using her work email. She met me at a Christmas party and sulked when she couldn't get him alone, and a few days later sent my husband a first picture via social media. He didn't actually see the first picture until after she apologized in person. He accepted her apology before checking his messages when he was back at home with me. She had put an "oops, sorry, wrong person" message straight after it, so when he clicked that message, the first picture was there, which she could have deleted before he actually saw the message. A week later, a similar thing happens with a second picture on a different social media platform. He saw who the message was from and asked me to open it. It was a little more provocative than before, but when she apologized, she asks him if he told me about the pictures, as she didn't want me to get the wrong idea, as they were both previously a drunken mistake. She was not a friend on any of his social media, so I don't know how she thought that was an excuse. My birthday comes along, and when she went to hug my husband, he jumped away as her actions were getting him worried. But after that, her actions calmed down a little bit. She sort of stopped asking him out to discuss work so much. But then last Monday happened. As for the update, she was fired for inappropriate actions and gross misconduct, and this has led to someone else being suspended pending investigation. As my husband and I were both working from home due to the events that happened last week, I was unaware at the time of my post that she had been suspended pretty much straight after my husband reported this to HR on Wednesday. He handed over the text exchange, the messages on his social media, with proof he never responded, and he printed out the work emails he had received also. The reason for the rapid response was due to the nature of the allegations, but I can confirm she was fired yesterday. I have not been told what she said, but she did not try to raise any allegation against my husband. In my comments, I explained a little about the HR department's system. The company uses an electronic personal database, which only HR employees can log into. No other employees should have access to this system, yet an employee in the IT department gave the woman an authorized access to the HR system. A report was run and she had been in my husband's file 34 times. I don't know what she actually did in there, but apparently there was so many amendments that they had to restore his file from a recent backup. So, the IT employee has been suspended pending an investigation, but I don't know much else about that, as it's not my job to know. I'm only recounting what I have been told by my husband and former colleagues. The past 48 hours has been crazy, but I'm glad that this post reached other platforms, as a relative of hers found a post and reached out to us to apologize for the woman's actions. After a few messages were exchanged, we had a very long telephone conversation. I will not go into specifics due to their privacy. However, I can say the following things with permission. The woman has been fixated on other men before, resulting in her having an order of protection against her and her needing treatment. The family believes this is due to a traumatic event she witnessed when she was a child. She is normally very stable when she has medication. The only problem with that is when she is stable, she believes she is completely healthy and stops taking the medication, causing a relapse. The person that she had a text exchange with was her teenage niece who was not aware of her aunt's condition. The niece was under the impression it was a joke, then became scared when we called Wednesday morning, so she hung up. She reported this to her family and they found out later that day that the woman had been suspended. The family found a post and my comment referencing the text exchange and got my husband's name from the woman after confirming the post was her. The woman is currently staying with other relatives about 4 hours away from where we are. We will be contacted if she goes missing from their care, especially while the medication is working its way back into her system. We will not be pressing charges at present, but we have logged this with the police, especially after talking about it with our friend and her family are aware of this. Our security is being updated within the next 2 weeks. The school and daycare are also aware of the people who can and can't drop off/pick up my kids with photos of them. They have also been provided a photo of her, and to contact my husband and or I if they see her near the schools or attempts to pick my children up. Hopefully, I won't need to provide a further update to this. And I'm going to have a bottle of wine and hopefully my husband and I will have a very good night's sleep. Edit. Denise found a post and recognized that some of the text exchange I referenced in my comments, possibly the part about kicking me out of my house with my kids, as that was the only part I was not too vague about. But I don't actually know what else has gone on in their family behind the scenes, as I didn't speak directly to her. Yikes, what a saga. Glad the situation has been figured out and dealt with, so you can begin to exhale. Let's all hope the former colleague continues to get the help she desperately needs. Hard to imagine how traumatized her brain must be. Yeah, I feel a little guilty for posting now, but it ultimately did get her the help and support she needs. You shouldn't feel guilty. Look at all the good that has come from the post. Her family's aware and hopefully she can get some help. She is with her support system. That is the best case outcome. And you and your husband know you are safe for now, so you can relax and heal a bit. You did well. This is so scary. Glad she was fired. What do you mean by amendments? I'm assuming she was editing stuff on your husband's file? She had changed a lot of information on his file. I'm not allowed to know the exact extent, but she had access to everything HR would. They managed to confirm that she didn't access anyone else's file also, and the amendments were reverted back when the backup was restored. My guess is she changed herself to the emergency contact. Glad she didn't access anyone else's file at least. Did you ever find her old post? Was that just a lie? Was she feeding her husband baked good? I got so many questions and none are answered. I never found a post, but with people making so many suggestions, I admit I was overwhelmed with crazy posts. I looked through them and none of them matched. But I honestly don't know what I'm looking for, because she either fully believed she was having an affair with my husband and posted about that, or she admitted she lied to get me out the way. I also think it's a possibility she has posted, but changed too many details to remain anonymous so I couldn't recognize it. I didn't ask her family for her post history when we spoke. She never baked anything for my husband. She wasn't in a relationship either. Little annoyed with commenters in the OG post saying, well, where there's smoke. Like, yeah, the fire was OP's husband being harassed. My first thought based on OP's description was that she was stalking him. The further it went on, the more I assumed she had done this before. There was just too much going on that pointed towards him being honest, especially since OP was still in contact with coworkers who corroborated everything. Last story. A guy at work is giving me silent treatment because I didn't accept sweets he bought me. This guy at work in his late 30s/early 40s asked me a 29 female out a couple of times and I have said no every time. He has even asked me why I've said no. He does, however, leave chocolates and other sweets on my desk. I explained to him I don't eat the volume of food he's leaving me, so to please stop. I also explained I want to be healthier. I also don't want to accept because I feel he's doing it to pick up, and I don't want to give the wrong idea. Last week I returned from lunch, and he had a tray of sweets for me that he had purchased while on his lunch. I was so full for my lunch, and I'm really trying with my diet and gym. So I said, no thanks, give them to someone else in the office perhaps. He got very annoyed, and now has given me the silent treatment since. This includes saying hi and bye to everyone but me daily. I find it kind of funny, to be honest. I felt bad at first for rejecting a nice gesture, but now I just feel he's overreacting. Adding on, yes, it's good he's leaving me alone, but the absolute silent treatment does make it awkward, because I do have to work with this person. Edit. Right now, I am not going to report him to HR or kick up a fuss. I merely made this post to get it off my chest. I am also not worried I no longer get attention from him as it wasn't wanted. I'm just feeling awkward about the situation. Thanks all. Now for the advice. Please report this to someone. Leave a paper trail in case the situation escalates. He clearly doesn't respect your boundaries. I have a coworker who was ignoring me without saying why. It was at least partially my fault. Turns out my stupid sense of humor is not appreciated by everyone, and it was really getting in the way of work. I've recently moved teams, so I don't see him much anymore, but I've found out that he has been doing the same thing to much more senior people, and they're not happy about it. I was actually relieved to hear that it wasn't just me. OP, mention all of this to HR or a supervisor if you have one you trust. Coworkers who cannot and will not communicate will always negatively affect the workplace. Haha, good. Now you can ignore him in peace. Tell HR though if he gets snarky. No, tell HR now. And tell more if he continues. This is best. You want to be ahead of the problem with HR so they can take immediate action if he does it again. Otherwise, they might say, this is the first time we are hearing of this, so we've noted it for now, instead of actually helping you. This reminds me of something that happened to me when I was working at a little cafe in Hawaii. I was going through a really hard breakup, just trying to save money and get back on my feet. I met a guy who worked there too, who was also from the same area I was from, East Coast, US. We bonded a bit, and he was funny, and we formed a platonic friendship. One day, we grabbed lunch together and we each paid for our own food. Then he sold me a little weed. It was clearly not a date. When we were about to part ways, he leaned in and attempted to kiss me on the lips. I backed away and said, "Whoa, were you just about to kiss me?" And he says, "What can I say? I'm bold." I let him know I wasn't looking for anything romantic. I'd ask if we were cool, and he says yes. From that point forward, he proceeded to give me the silent treatment at work. And when I confronted him to ask what was up, he just pretended like everything was fine, and then continued to ignore me. And this kind of thing has happened to me multiple times over the years. It's definitely a thing. Guys getting butthurt upon rejection.
Update. My girlfriend has opened up to me extensively about the abuse she suffered. Her stories are starting to contradict each other, and I'm starting to suspect something. Original post. I, 26 male, am currently in a 3-year relationship with a 24-year-old woman named Kathy. I'll spare you all the details about her personality, but I love her dearly. I fully intend to marry her when the time is right for both of us. On our first date, Kathy warned me that she had PTSD from past trauma. Some of the things that she has told me have been so devastating that they made me physically ill. As we talked and ate, she told me that she lost her virginity to her stepfather, forcing himself on her when she was asleep. I, a grown man, started crying in the middle of the restaurant. She assured me that she was in therapy and was working through her issues. As time has gone on, more and more details about her past have come up. I am incredibly happy that she is willing to share all of this with me because I want to support her. But there have been so many contradictions that I'm confused. I don't even know how to bring them up. Here are several of the ones that make the least sense. She told me that her biological father kicked her so hard when she was 7 that it broke her wrist in 2 places. Later, when we were taking a bike ride together, she said, "I've never broken a bone and don't intend to now." She told me that her mother used to put a belt, a stick, and a wrench on the table and tell her to choose. She said she picked the wrench because F her, that's why. This is a scene from Good Will Hunting, told almost verbatim. She has no marks or scars from this. She told me that after her stepfather abused her for several months, she lived for her grandparents for the rest of high school. Later, she contradicted herself and said she was homeless and couch surfing for her last 2 years of high school. She told me that she dropped out of high school because she had to escape from a gang who was trying to make her work as a prostitute. But when I met her, she was a student at a reputable university. She never went to community college. I don't think it's even possible to get into a school like that with nothing more than a GED. She told me that to cope with her past trauma, she did almost every drug and was barely sober for more than a week for 2 years. Later, when we smoked weed together, she got super high and said she had never tripped harder. I don't think someone who has done LSD and mushrooms would say that after smoking pot. It doesn't make sense. I feel like a monster for asking, was she even abused? I could understand 1 or 2 contradictions based on some inaccurate memories, but really? Why the movie scene monologue? Why does everything point to her having a privileged upbringing with a brand new Range Rover she bought as a freshman and fancy college degree with no debt? I don't know how to bring this up or how to make sense of any of this. I can't bring the issue up because if she was abused, it would crush her to be doubted. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Compulsive liar by the sounds of it. Knew a few in college with the exact same kind of track record. The girl in the dorm room next to me only got caught when an RA called her mom to say the girl needed more support, given the recent death of her uncle, and mom said she never had an uncle. All of a sudden, about 20 stories started to unravel. I have suspected that she is a compulsive liar, but aside from the outlandish and self-contradicting abuse stories, I can't find anything that she has ever lied to me about. Maybe she hides her other lies better. Would it make sense for a compulsive liar to only lie when it comes to one subject? Yes, if it's core to the image of her she wants others to hold. Some people lie about everything. Some people lie to shape how the world views them. So this sounds almost identical to my sister. We are unsure if she's a pathological liar or if she is having delusions. She's been known to lie about things, but it got to a point where she was claiming she was molested by a family member and was saying things that were contradictory, not possible, or was copying stories I had told her of my abuse. No one wants to think that someone would lie about something like this. From what you've been saying, it seems to me like your girlfriend is lying. I was abused as a child until I was in my 20s. Some things you get mixed up because memory is easily manipulated, but not the sort of things she was saying, especially not the things that happened in high school. Or she's just so delusional that she believes all these stories she's sharing. Confronting her in the moment and calling her out could help. I did that with my sister until the lies got more serious, but she's just going to search out people who enable her. If you start questioning her stories, she's likely lash out saying how could you question someone about the abuse she went through, or find other people who won't question her. If she is willing to lie about this, or suffering from so much mental distress, she can convince herself these things happened. There are a lot more things that she's told you that aren't true. That's another possibility that concerns me. If she has bought into her delusion so deeply that she legitimately believes she was abused exactly as she describes, what even is the endgame in our relationship? This is going to sound screwed up, but I'm not interested in marrying a person who may one day be telling people I did something horrifying to her. Update. Hi again, everybody. A lot of people have expressed interest in an update to my situation, and since the situation is finally resolved, I figured I would take a minute to write out what happened. Admittedly, this actually ended last week, and spoiler alert, I spent the following several days moving out. I haven't had a chance to update. A whole lot of thoughts on the matter have been stewing, so I'm afraid this is going to be long. For those of you who just want to know what happened and move on, she lied. We broke up. She tried to save our relationship by lying. I have ghosted her. So, after reading through nearly every single response to my post, I came to two conclusions. 1. My girlfriend was lying about, at the very least, the extent of her abuse. And 2. She was only going to continue escalating these lies unless I put a stop to it. Many people told me both in comments and DMs that if I were to directly confront her about my suspicions, she would immediately gaslight me or deflect by calling me a monster for not believing her. I agreed this was likely, and so I went the route of stalking her on social media. I'm not proud of it, but I spent well over 10 hours stalking her on Facebook. I hadn't logged into Facebook since early in our relationship, but she seemed to be using it fairly often. Through my search, I discovered two things that she couldn't possibly explain away. She has another Facebook she uses for close friends and family. The Facebook page she has me on is reserved for friends from online games, giveaways, and so on. This all came to light when I started messaging her Facebook friends. I sent them a copy-pasted message. Hey, I'm Kathy's boyfriend. I know this is out of the blue, but would you mind if I asked you a question? I wanted to get her a gift and was hoping for a bit of advice. The majority of the people didn't respond. Fair enough. I assume many of the messages got automatically filtered. Of those who did respond, the vast majority didn't really know Kathy, or only knew her online or didn't remember her at all. It was bizarre. Where were her college friends? Her not having high school friends would be right in line with what she told me before, but I know she has friends from college because she hangs out with them regularly. Or at least she did until we went into lockdown. Eventually, I figured it out. She had another Facebook. It was a total stroke of luck that led me to it. She happened to have one single friend who was on both of her Facebook pages. And when stalking her friend's friends, I found my girlfriend's second page. On her real Facebook page, everything she told me completely unraveled. Dozens of high school friends. Pictures from her high school days, ranging from class trips to dressing room pictures of her trying on new clothes to her sweet 16. pictures with her parents. Parents with whom she seemed very happy to be having her picture taken. Pictures of her standing in front of a very large, very non-ghetto suburban house. Then I found the picture of her standing in front of her brand new Range Rover. At this point, I had already decided our relationship was over. There's no explaining that. If she had mental illness so severe that she had deluded herself into believing everything she told me, she needed therapy, not a boyfriend. If all of those stories were just plain old lies, I wouldn't even know what to feel. Taking advice from the last post, I decided to ask about the Range Rover. I wanted to expose her and figured it was an innocent enough topic to bring up out of the blue. She was sitting on the couch reading a magazine, and so I walked up and asked her about her car. I said it was really nice, and if she had inherited some money or something to be able to afford it. She gave me a long theatrical inhale and exhale. She then asked me to promise not to be shocked, but it was Pandora's box. Knowing that she was about to feed me another helping of BS, I told her I wanted to hear it anyway. She covered up the Range Rover purchase by telling me that when she was homeless, she was forced into prostitution by an abusive pimp. She said that with the money she saved by overcharging clients and hiding tips from him, she was eventually able to afford a car. Then she asked if I still loved her despite her past. So that was the end of that. I called her a liar on the spot. Aside from everything else, what really ticked me off about this lie is street prostitutes don't make nearly enough money in tips to be able to buy an expensive car and pay for a college education. Then I told her that I saw her real Facebook. All of those pictures. For the first time in our relationship, she didn't have an explanation. I started my move out the next morning, the lease be damned, and finally was done with it in 3 days. She has frantically texted me saying she could explain and she was ready to tell me the truth. Yeah, the truth. I'm almost tempted to ask her for it just so I can experience another wild tale. Maybe this time it being about her experience with witness protection on the run from the mafia or some other ludicrous story. Thanks again for all of the advice and help, everyone. I feel like a total idiot for wasting 3 years of my life with her, but I have high hopes for my future. I'm going to take a break from dating for a while though. Right now, I'm staying at a buddy's house who has been nothing short of amazing. She does not know where I am. Not to judge you here, but how the heck did this relationship last 3 years? In all this time, did she never go home to visit family? Did you know any of her friends? I get you didn't want to press her about her traumas, but damn. Also, like a lot of others have said, you better get your alibi straight now. You will likely become the victim of her next lie. She'll be angry that you broke up with her and tell people that you abused her. I'd try to secure evidence of her lying habits. Either record a conversation or get it in writing. My boyfriend was in a relationship like this for 5 years. She claimed to be abused and all sorts of stuff that didn't line up over time. She was also very manipulative and demanding of him, which I don't know if that was also the case for OP. I asked him the same thing. How did it last so long? Basically, I think love bombing in the beginning was the biggest factor. My boyfriend kept thinking it could get better if he fixed himself. She also wore him down with her stories and justifications and blamed him for misunderstanding. So he didn't trust himself and thought poorly of himself. So he got depressed and kinda gave up on life thinking he was so messed up, never questioning her actions. One thing I don't understand is you mentioned the Range Rover in your original post, but I don't see it referenced in any of your stories. It sounded in this post like seeing her with the Range Rover was a surprise, but it was just that she got it as a teenager. Also, have you contemplated messaging her parents? It's kind of surprising that somebody with all of those stories wouldn't have her Facebook locked down. I would almost post something and tag her. The whole thing is so weird and sick. I'm sorry that you experienced it. And yes, if you've been on this ride for this long, I would be curious to know what the truth really is. The Range Rover thing was because despite her roller coaster teens, she somehow was able to afford it, brand new, from her first year of college. That made no sense to me. She never really went into detail about it, and I never asked until I decided to confront her about it. I know this is a controversial take on Reddit, but people like Kathy are the reason I back away slowly when someone trauma dumps on me on first meetings, both in real life and on the internet. I have extreme skepticism when people present stories of horrific abuse at initial meetings. And it's really bizarre that I've had to develop this policy, but there you go. I wish I had seen this before I met my ex 2 years ago, Limao. On our first date, she did some trauma dumping on me about how her previous boyfriend was a narcissist and abuser who had threatened her and her son's life. She went into great detail about it too. Fast forward to our eventual breakup, and she was staying with me for a few weeks until her new apartment was done being furnished. We break up because, quite frankly, she was glued to her phone at every waking hour, to the point where I took her out to dinner the night before and said literally nothing for 2 hours, and she didn't notice. She also would never stop talking about her ex. Everything we would do, she'd have a comment about him. Anyways, long story short, I tell her we're done and she starts demanding I pay for a hotel for her until her apartment is ready, but I say absolutely not. Next thing I know, she calls up her ex and starts venting very loudly about me to him, saying the exact same things to him that she had said he did to her. Guy got suckered into paying for her to get a hotel, while I was counting my blessings for realizing how manipulative she was, and thanking all the gods for dodging that bullet at the end. Last story. Tonight, my 4-year-old nephew broke through every piece of armor I've put on and every wall I've built. I deflect. A lot. I'm a bartender of 10 years, 34-year-old straight male. Past relationships that all have ended. For the most part, all clean breaks, which make it suck even worse. Kind of a, we both realize we're not meant to be each other's forever person. I feel that's because I deflect. I'm always trying to make a joke, appear strong, or change the subject when things get too real. A lot of betrayal with friends and exes in my past, which is no excuse to quit living, but it built an excellent armor around my true self. I've been on a handful of first dates in the last 6 months. I'm an expert at coming up with reasons to not let the women I go on dates with in, if that makes sense. Keep it on the surface, while still being a gentleman and honest with where I am and my intentions. Casual fun dates. Tonight, my 4-year-old nephew was about to get in the car and go home with my sister and brother-in-law, but I was in the driveway, and he ran probably 25 yards, dead sprint, and I knelt down to his level, and he ran into my arms so hard it hit my soul. I couldn't let go of him. I got in my own car to drive home. We all met at my parents' house for my dad's birthday. I cried for the first 5 minutes of that drive because that little kid cut through every part of me that I try to protect with pure, innocent, trusting love. All he knew was, that's my uncle, man. It was so beautiful. There wasn't anything expected in return. It was just his safe place. I wanted to stay in that moment for the rest of my life. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it or about how I would go through hell and back for that kid. Man, this hit me right in the chest. Kids have a way of seeing through all the noise and going straight to the core of who we are. That kind of pure, unconditional love is rare, and when it shows up like that, it can break you open in the best way. You're clearly someone with a big heart, even if life has made you guard it a little tighter. That moment with your nephew wasn't just beautiful, it was real. And the fact that you felt it so deeply says everything about the kind of man you are beneath the armor. He sees it. And now maybe you're starting to see it too. Don't underestimate how much that kind of love can shift things. You deserve to feel safe being that open and soft, not just with him, but in the rest of your life too. Thank you. I rarely post on here, and to have such a heartfelt reply to a post that I already hesitated posting, just thank you. You're a kind soul, and please message me if there's anything on your mind that you need to vent about. Like it says in my post, I'm a bartender, which a lot of people think means therapist. Haha. Thank you, and I hope you have an incredible day.